I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and since city's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep right until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm running out of time, 'cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road in overdrive, baby. Hit the road in overdrive. The city's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm coming back to let you know I can never say it on the phone. But whenever I let it go, this time I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. Feel free to be whoever you wanna be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please everybody, that ain't no way to be. So many people try to get you to feel.
Yeah. Two-Tone Talk Podcast coming to you. Episode 54. And boy, what a joy it is to come to you today. On this lovely Friday afternoon, where we are just 2 days away from the Titans and the Jaguars Titan Fox in the chat says, I've been watching Brad for a while now, and he never answers whether he's the one singing at the beginning. I have answered this for somebody before. That is indeed me singing at the beginning. And while I'm mentioning this, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, or listening on SoundCloud, that is my song that I wrote and sang. It is called Feel Free, and it is available on all streaming platforms. So, there's that. Titans and the Jaguars going to get it on in Jacksonville this Sunday. I was on Jacksonville 1010 XL radio yesterday. Actually, it was last night I was on the show there with Hacker After Dark. Was honored to be on there last year for the season finale game between the Titans and the Jags. And then I was on, last night to talk about Titans-Jags. And I think Hacker, who is diehard Jaguars fan, covers the Jags for a living, he said it best. He said the Jags are looking to recoup after getting embarrassed by the 49ers last week, and the Titans are simply just looking for a win. In any way. They're just looking to win a game. The last game they won, that Atlanta Falcons game, feels like a long time ago. Long time ago. Titans are 3-6. Hanging on to life by a thread. Their season on life support. The good news, I guess, for them is that the AFC as a whole feels pretty wide open. That's not me saying the Titans are in the mix. I mean, the AFC is a big cluster right here in the middle, and the Titans and the Patriots find themselves at the bottom. But after last night, huge shakeup in the AFC. The Bengals and the Ravens played last night. The Ravens won, and Joe Burrow is hurt. And it don't look good. I don't know if there's been an update yet today. I was looking at Twitter right before I hit go. But Joe Burrow's hurt. Right wrist. A lot of speculation that Burrow was already hurt and the Bengals didn't disclose that information to the NFL, which you were supposed to. Maybe some discipline coming for them. But either way, Joe Burrow does not look well after last night. And the Bengals, who were on fire as recent as a week ago, have now lost 2 games in the span of 4 days. They are now 5-5 and very much so on the outside looking in. How about the Bills? The Bills are also 5-5. They lost to the Denver Broncos on Monday Night Football, and they don't look good at all. Can you imagine coming into this season and predicting the Bengals and the Bills both to miss the playoffs? I'm not saying they will. But for right now, it's looking a little dicey for both of those two teams. You would have been viewed as a lunatic if you had even predicted one of those two teams to miss the playoffs. It's looking like both of them could miss. Because if Burrow is got a bad injury and he's done, bro, their backup didn't look good. And I'll tell you this. If you eliminate the Bengals and the Bills, then you start saying, okay, who is there to stop the Kansas City Swifties from going back to the Super Bowl in the AFC? The obvious answer would be the Ravens. And the Ravens looked good last night. They did lose on Sunday to the Browns. And the Browns were another team that kind of had emerged as a possible contender. But now Deshaun Watson, there's no speculation. He's done for the year. Deshaun Watson, done for the year. Okay. So, I don't see how the Browns could make a run with P.J. Walker or whoever their backup is. I mean, obviously, hindsight's 2020. Maybe they should have made a trade or tried to make a trade for a guy like Ryan Tannehill. That would be a good situation for him. But hard to buy into the Browns when they don't have a quarterback, right? Okay. Then you got the Ravens. Yes, the Ravens look good, but they had a significant injury last night too. Tight end Mark Andrews done for the year. That's going to be tough for them. He's one of the better tight ends in the league. It's going to be a tough. It's going to be a big injury for them. So, who knows? B Ravens 1 in the chat mentions a very good point. The Cleveland Browns had Josh Dobbs. They traded him away to the Arizona Cardinals, who then traded him away to the Minnesota Vikings. But I digress. All of that to say, the AFC is kind of a mess. Once you get past the Swifties at the top of the AFC, because yes, Jacksonville is there. Jacksonville is 6-3, and you might say, what about the Jags as being a team that could contend? Listen, and I'm not just saying it because I don't like the Jags, and I'm not just saying it because the Titans are playing the Jags, but the Jaguars, I mean, they got whooped on Sunday by the 49ers. Like, they got trounced, 34-3. So, I'm not going to blame you if you have trouble buying into the Jaguars right now as being a potential threat. All I know is that it's a long season. There's a lot of football left to be played, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this shakes out. So what does that mean for the Tennessee Titans? Because they're 3-6. Right now, they are 3 games behind the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC South. They are 2 games behind the Houston Texans. They are, I believe, 1 game behind the Indianapolis Colts. If you're looking at the wild card race, which is interesting to say the least in the AFC, I believe they are 2 games out of that. Which, when you say it that way, and I did forget the Miami Dolphins could be a potential threat to the Swifties as well. But the wild card race in the AFC is getting very weird. Because if the Bengals and the Bills are out, I'm not saying they are, and I'm not. This is not me trying to convince everybody the Titans are going to make it. I'm just speaking in general of the entire AFC. It's a mess because when you put together the list of what teams are going to make the playoffs in the AFC, you probably are going to think Bengals, Bills. Like, you're putting them in there. But if you were to take them out, okay, you've got the Browns who are hard to buy into right now because they're quarterback. You've got the Steelers who are 6-3, but it's just they look this. Could you imagine a team looking worse at 6-3? I mean, I'm just waiting on the train to come off the tracks in Pittsburgh. Like, it just seems like it is only a matter of time until the Steelers completely fall apart. But they keep winning games. They look ugly. It's tough to watch, but they keep on winning. And then there's teams like the Broncos who have emerged. I'm going to do the 32-1 rankings here in a second, but if you're tuning in, and this is the thing we always do, is there hope for the Tennessee Titans? Could the Titans possibly still turn this thing around? 2 games behind Houston, 3 games behind Jacksonville, 2 games out of a wild card spot. Could they turn it around? I mean, technically, by the numbers, I said it last week. It didn't come to fruition because the Titans lost, but if Titans go in there and beat the Jaguars on Sunday, then you'll now be 2 games behind them. You've got Houston twice on the schedule. I don't think the Titans could beat the Texans right now at all. I don't think they're going to beat the Jaguars Sunday, but, beat the Jags Sunday and maybe get a little help from Arizona with Kyler Murray playing Houston. I mean, listen. If you win this game Sunday, your next 2 games are against Carolina and Indianapolis. I mean, they're both at home. So this is kind of the last stand because if you lose Sunday, especially if you look bad, I mean, and that's the key. Numbers-wise, yes, the Titans, there's a lot of football left to be played. 3 games back from Jacksonville, but you got to play them twice. You got to play Houston twice. You got to play Indianapolis again. Yes, all that is true. What concerns me is the Titans roster. That's what concerns me. The numbers, yes, the numbers are what they are, and mathematically, yes, they're still there, but I just don't know how you overcome this secondary that you have. I don't know how you overcome this offensive line. I don't know how. I mean, I just don't know. You know, you compare it to the 2019 team that went to the AFC Championship game because they turned things around. They ended up salvaging the season, making the playoffs, and going on a little run there. But that team, I think, would beat the crap out of this team. I think the 2019 Titans would beat the crap out of the 2023 Titans. Bad. That offensive line was way better. That secondary was way better. That defense as a whole was way better. Derrick Henry was younger and you know, able to break those long runs still. That team had A.J. Brown. You know, like that 2019 team would beat the crap out of this 2023 team, okay? It's just not a good roster. And so I don't I just can't imagine that this team's going to turn it around. It's just it's not like we look at the Broncos, the Raiders. These are teams who have kind of, for the moment, turned their season around. They looked dead in the water, and now they've both kind of turned it around. And you look at the rosters that they have, and it's like, okay, you know, like Broncos, they don't have a bad roster. Like, you look at their roster, and it's like, you know, they have talent. It's Titans roster, man. It's just like, ugh. With that being said, we can expect the offensive line to have some changes. Andre Dillard is still in concussion protocol, so he's not going to play Sunday. So looks like Dylan Radins is probably going to start at left tackle. Radins had a tough day the other day against the Bucs, and you know, there are people who chalk that up to the fact that he didn't get reps at left tackle in practice all week, and then was asked to play left tackle in the game. I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying that or not, but he's going to get his chance Sunday. He is most likely starting at left tackle. Obviously, the rookie Jalen Duncan is probably going to get some looks. And as Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, said, he's just a freak physically. This Jalen Duncan is. It's all technique with him. He's a rookie. But, you know, man, wouldn't that be something if he turned out to be a guy for them, and then you could maybe rest assured that you have a guy at that position? It's wishful thinking, I know. But as far as the rest of the offensive line, I'm concerned about right guard Daniel Brunskill, who has been one of the better offensive linemen for Tennessee this year. Didn't play against Tampa Bay. I would imagine on the injury report today he's going to be listed as questionable. And if he can't go, I mean, then do you put Radins at right guard and Duncan at left tackle? I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't, but I am worried about the offensive line, as I always am. I am worried for the safety of Will Levis, as I always am. Yeah, we're gonna see. It's concerning. It is concerning. Traylon Burks still heavily in concussion protocol, and there are some rumors that we may not see Traylon Burks for the rest of the season, which leads me to ask the question, and it sucks, but will we even see Traylon Burks play another game as a Tennessee Titan? I watched Locked On Titans podcast the other day. Tyler over there, I liked his idea for the wide receiving core for next year. He said, go hit up free agency and get a guy maybe like a T. Higgins or, There's a number of good quality wide receivers that are going to be free agents. Hit up the free agent wire and get one of those guys. Draft a good wide receiver in the second round because there will still be some there. Bring Hopkins back, put him in the slot, and then round out the rest of the receiving core with NWI, Kyle Phillips, and Chris Moore. And his suggestion was to trade Traylon Burks for whatever you can get, and I don't hate that idea as much as as much as I want Traylon Burks to get healthy. But it just hasn't worked out with him so far. Titan Fox has a good point. He said in the Tampa game, every play, it just reinforced the belief that this season is a wash. Yeah, I mean, it was tough to watch. That Tampa Bay, maybe second only to the Cleveland game. I mean, the Cleveland game earlier this year was miserable. But yeah, that Tampa game Sunday was just, I mean, the team just looked like they had no juice at all. They looked like they didn't want to be there. They looked tired. They looked... I mean, I remember when they played in London, everybody was worried about jet lag and being tired from the plane ride. I was like, man, this Bucks game looked like a London game with the way they were sluggish out there and just lazy, no energy. It was like, man, what has happened to this team? But hopefully, they'll be able to find something to take to Jacksonville on Sunday. This Jacksonville game is only the second division game of the year. They've had one against the Colts, which they lost. And now they've got this against the Jaguars coming up. And I got to say this about Jacksonville, This is, and I said this when I was on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL in Jacksonville last night. This is an important game for the Jaguars. It really is, because they're 6-3. They've got the Houston Texans nipping at their heels. And, this would be a disaster for the Jaguars to lose this game. A total disaster. Because you just got killed by San Francisco last week. You got absolutely embarrassed on your home field by the 49ers. Looked like you didn't even belong out there. Trevor Lawrence, thus far this season, has been very underwhelming. This team, overall, has yet to really show that big spark that people expected. And if you come out and you follow up that dud against the 49ers by losing to the 3-6 Titans, I mean, you got to play Houston next week, Jacksonville does. That's an important game. You do not want to go into that on a 2-game losing streak, one of them where you got beat 34-3, and one of them where you got beat by a 3-6 Titans team. Now, you don't want to go in there with that. And then, I looked ahead. The Jags got to play the Bengals, which is not looking like as tough of a game now because of Burrow getting hurt. But they got to play the Ravens. They've got to play a tough Tampa Bay team. This Jacksonville schedule is not exactly easy. So this is all of that to say, Jacksonville absolutely has the most to lose. They're the 6-3 team that's kind of in the mix. Tennessee's, considered to be, on life support at this point for this year. And so Jacksonville's going in with the most to lose. Tennessee has nothing to lose. We're the lowly Titans. We're 3-6, and everybody assumes that we're done anyway. So, I mean, we'll see. But, this would be a disaster for Jacksonville to lose this game. Let's do, and you know what? I forgot to upload this into the thing, so bear with me here. This is going to be the 32-1 Two-Tone Talk Power Rankings. Now, again, it is based on how I feel about these teams, okay? Not just their records, not just what they did last week, but overall, this is how I see these teams. And we'll start with the bottom three. We've got a new 32. this week, and it's the Giants. I think the Giants are horrible. With this Tommy DeVito, they look atrocious, and they're apparently keeping Daniel Jones next year, but they got a lot of things wrong. So I got the Giants at 32. 31, not a shocker here. This team is consistently in the bottom three. It's the Carolina Panthers, who just, I have it on good authority that times are very tough right now in Carolina, in Charlotte. I have been told that there is complete devastation in that city regarding the Carolina Panthers because they feel as though they drafted the wrong guy. They are watching C.J. Stroud do what he's doing in Houston, and even, yes, to see Will Levis come in and look as poised and together as he has looked for, I'm not going to include the Tampa game because he got his butt kicked in that game, but Bryce Young has not come close to doing anything resembling what Will Levis did in that Atlanta game. I don't even think Bryce Young has measured up to what Will Levis was able to do against Pittsburgh. Not to mention what C.J. Stroud has done in Houston. They are panicking in Carolina because they gave up a lot to get up there to number one and get Bryce Young. And it's early. I like Bryce Young. It's early in the process. So there's no need to totally panic. But, man, watching Stroud do what he's doing, ooh, could be some dark days ahead for the Panthers. And then number 30, rounding out the bottom three, is the New England Patriots. I'm telling you, that throw by Mac Jones, where he, I mean, you know the throw, where he threw the interception that pretty much sealed the game. This dude got benched with like 2 minutes to go, down by 4, needing a game-winning drive. They chose to go with the backup over him. That's embarrassing for him. That's embarrassing for the organization. And I would assume he is not going to be back in New England next year and probably won't take another snap for the Patriots. And a lot of rumors about Bill Belichick going elsewhere after the season. It's going to be an interesting offseason for the Patriots. Let's get into the 20s here. Number 29, the Bears. The Bears beat the Panthers. They're probably getting Justin Fields back this weekend. And, that would be the great hope for Chicago, is that Justin Fields is able to come back in with the rest of the season, play well enough that you can feel good about him going into next year. Because the Bears are probably going to have 2 picks in the top 5. And you can't tell me you're not at least considering going after Caleb Williams, Drake May, one of these guys. You can't tell me you're not at least considering it. You need to see what you've got in Justin Fields because you don't want to blow an opportunity at getting another guy. Number 28, the Arizona Cardinals. Definitely Kyler Murray brought back some spark to that team. The big drive at the end to beat the Falcons, and Kyler Murray, I mean, he did what he does on that play where he scrambled to get him the first down there at the end. That's what Kyler Murray brings to the table. He's very fast, and so Arizona, who's probably also going to be in the top 5 for the draft, they could be a big-time contender to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and have Kyler Murray somebody to throw to. If you are somebody hoping for the Titans to tank and get into that top 5, you are probably rooting for Kyler Murray to reinvigorate this whole Arizona team so that they win more games this year down the stretch. Number 27, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers lost to the Steelers. Packers overall look very similar to the Titans. Their offense is tough to watch. They don't have a lot of talent. It just is what it is. Number 26, the Washington Commanders. I'm officially out on the Washington Commanders as a playoff team. I had picked them to be a playoff team. Just not looking good, and I think Ron Rivera is probably his seat is engulfed in flames. Number 25, the good guys, the Tennessee Titans. I hate having them this low on the list, guys. I really do. I hate having them this low on the list, but what are you gonna do? I mean, you're 3-6, and when you look as bad as they looked, unfortunately, you belong down here among these teams. It sucks, but their roster is just not good enough to have them any higher. Number 24, the Rams. The Rams were off this week, but the Rams. Man, it's amazing how quick you go from Super Bowl champions to being a complete afterthought, because the Rams feel like a complete afterthought. Like, Stafford's been hurt, and it just looks like, they look like a team who's like, hey, we won our Super Bowl. We know there's going to be some tough years ahead, but doggone it, we won our Super Bowl, so leave us alone. Number 23, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons dropped down the list. I had them, I think, at 17 last week. They dropped to 23. The Falcons have lost 3 games in a row, and in inexcusable ways. I mean, I hate to, revisit this, but you can't lose back-to-back-to-back games when you're in a tough division race there, in a wide-open division. You can't lose 3 games in a row to a rookie, and Will Levis played his first game, a guy who's only been on the roster 5 days in Josh Dobbs, and a guy who's playing for the first time in over a year in Kyler Murray. You can't lose 3 games in a row. I mean, if you give up one of those, fine, but you lost all 3 of those. I think Arthur Smith's seat gets hotter by the week. But the report that came out, earlier this week suggested that Atlanta plans on keeping him. I don't know. I think the Falcons could actually be a contender to land Ryan Tannehill this offseason. Like, because of Arthur Smith, kind of, and his familiarity with him. Number 22, the Jets. Man, the Jets. Aaron Rodgers said it himself on the Pat McAfee show. Narratives change quick. The Jets were horrible. Everybody was out on them. Then they won a few games. Ugly, but they won a few games. Everybody was back all in on the Jets, and now the Jets have looked really bad 2 games in a row. And, once again, it just looks like Zach Wilson is not that guy. Everybody's all pumped about Aaron Rodgers coming back sooner rather than later, but I don't even know what the point is. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. So why even bother? Number 21, the Raiders. The Raiders have won 3 games in a row. And unless you think that team was not ready to get rid of Josh McDaniels, they were. Because they got rid of McDaniels and now they're rolling. And the Raiders have won a few games in a row. I don't know if I'm buying them making a push for the playoffs just because their quarterback situation is so up and down. But it is good to see a team that was so miserable a month ago. Now they're winning games. Everybody's feeling better about them. They're back to 500. And the Raiders did, something that we wish the Titans would do, and that is figure it out. But like I said earlier, the difference is the Raiders have a much better roster than the Titans. So good for the Raiders, and they find themselves in the mix, and we'll see how things continue on for them down the stretch. Let's get to the other side of the screen here. At number 20, the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, the Colts beat the Patriots. The Patriots did everything they could to lose the game. It was as ugly as it could be, but the Colts got another win. The Colts keep winning games, and now I think the Colts have a bye week this week. And so we'll see. I still think the Colts are not even as good as their record would suggest, but, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it was ugly or pretty. Wins are wins, and the Colts have been generating wins just as much as they have been losses, so keep an eye on the Colts. Number 19, the Bucks. The Bucks got back on track with a win over the Titans. They hadn't won in weeks, and then they beat the Titans. Beat the crap out of the Titans, actually. I do think, the Bucks are a tough team. I don't think the Bucks are ever going to go gently into that good night. They fight, they kind of scratch and claw, and, Mike Evans is still very good, and Baker Mayfield, you could do a lot worse than him, And the Bucs are not out of it in that NFC South. With the Saints losing this past week, Bucs picked up a game on them, and the Bucs are now in second place in that division, despite the fact that they lost a few games in a row. So keep an eye on the Bucs. They're still alive. Number 18, the Chargers. Chargers, I don't think the Chargers are as bad as their record suggests. They've lost a lot of close games to tough teams, but that's kind of what the Chargers do. They lose close games. They can't quite get over the hump of beating those good teams, and it happened again Sunday, losing a close one to Detroit. I think the Chargers are probably going to miss the playoffs this year, which, they got to figure out how to get over the hump. The one time they've gotten to the playoffs with Justin Herbert, they blew like a 80-point lead against the Jags. Number 17, the Saints. Saints fell victim to the Josh Dobbs, the Josh Dobbs mania, which is running wild in Minnesota. The Saints had a tough time there, and, Saints are still in sole possession of first place in their division. I still think right now it is their division to lose, but, none of these teams in the NFC South are really good. You could see the Saints winning that division, but you could also see them totally falling apart. You could see the Bucs potentially winning that division, but you could also see them totally falling apart. Same with the Falcons. It's just how it is. It's not a very good division. Number 16, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos make a huge leap up the list. They were like somewhere over here on the right side last week. But you know what? The Broncos have won 3 games in a row. Remember what Aaron Rodgers said? Narratives change quick. And the narrative has changed very quick on the Broncos. The Broncos have won 3 games in a row. They beat the crap out of the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. Now they beat the Bills in Buffalo on Monday night. They beat the Bills in Buffalo. Come on. Hey, Russell Wilson starting to look a little more like Seattle Russell Wilson. And the Broncos, with this AFC, things are kind of topsy-turvy. The Broncos might be making a push. Hey, look at these guys, man. NFL season is a roller coaster. Number 15, the Houston Texans. Telling you, man, narratives change quick, didn't I say? Aaron Rodgers said it 2 weeks ago. The Texans had just lost to the Carolina Panthers. Everybody was like, bro, really? Y'all lost to the Panthers? The Texans suck. But look at what's happened now. They come back. They get that crazy win over Tampa Bay. Then they go beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. Stroud going toe for toe with Burrow. And if the playoffs started today, the Texans would be the 7th seed. These Texans are much better than anybody thought they were going to be. And if you look at their schedule the rest of the way, they do not have a hard schedule. So if I'm Jacksonville, I'd be sweating bullets over these guys because C.J. Stroud playing as well as anybody right now. They got a much easier schedule than Jacksonville. I mean, they got to play Cleveland's probably their toughest game left. And Cleveland's now without their quarterback. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. But the Texans, I'm worried about them right now. They look good. Number 14, the Buffalo Bills. I would have never thought the Bills would be ranked this low on this list. I mean, the Bills, I don't know what's going on, man, but it looks like Josh Allen has regressed. He's still great. But man, he does not look like he has that same fire. It looks as though Stephon Diggs doesn't even want to be there. Looks like a lot of the fans want Sean McDermott out. What happened to this Bills team, man? They were one of those Super Bowl contenders for the last few years, and man, what a disappointment they have been so far. Long way to go. They can still salvage it, but right now it's not looking good in Buffalo. Number 13, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how the Steelers keep winning games, but they do. I don't know how the Steelers keep winning because they don't ever look good. I mean, people are literally posting all the time about how they are not buying into Kenny Pickett at all. But it's like, dude, Kenny Pickett, they keep winning. They're 6-3. They're in the best division in football, and right now they are in second place in that division. I don't know. They're the 5 seed in the AFC. They're the top wildcard team. I have no idea. But if this continues, they need to give Mike Tomlin Coach of the Year because, wow. How about number 12, the Minnesota Vikings? If you had told me a month ago that I would have the Vikings at number 12 on this list, I would have laughed in your face. But listen, the Vikings have come to life. Josh Dobbs, what a story this guy is. This guy is coming there and he's playing unbelievable. He's playing out of his mind. And I don't know if it's going to last, but I mean, they're getting Justin Jefferson back soon. He's one of the best receivers in football. It's Vikings team, man. They got a little mojo going. We'll see if it can last with Dobbs. But the Vikings look very good. Number 11, the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks, they're good enough, I think, to beat every team underneath them on this list. But I don't think they're good enough to beat the 10 teams. They're about to be ahead of them. Maybe a couple. I just think that they got embarrassed by Baltimore. They came back. They redeemed themselves with a win. I don't know. I like the Seahawks. I think Pete Carroll is a tremendous coach, and he's doing a great job with them. I just feel like the Seahawks, no matter how many games they win in the regular season, they are a first-round exit in the playoffs. And I hate to say that because when people say it about the Titans on years where the Titans are good, it makes me mad, but anyway, we get to the top 10, and I'm very iffy. I'm very iffy about this first one. I've got the Bengals at 10, and I'm very iffy about that because that's still a major drop down the list because last week I had them at 4. So, I mean, it is a major drop. They go from 4 to 10. The Bengals looked like they were figuring it out, right? They looked like they're about to go on this 13-game win streak, and now not only have they lost 2 games in the span of a few days, but the bigger story is Burrow's hurt, and it don't look good. And without him, they ain't going nowhere. And so I've got them at 10 now, and if Burrow returns, I think they'll be okay. But if he misses the rest of the season, if he misses any time at all, significant time, which I don't see how he couldn't. If you saw the footage of him on the sideline last night, I mean, he was in pain. The Bengals may be toast if he misses a lot of time or if he misses the rest of the season. They're toast without him. So right now, I'm going to keep the Bengals in the top 10. I'm going to keep them at 10, but I'm very hesitant about that. Very hesitant. Let's get to number 9. If I remember correctly, I was hesitant about number 9 too. The Jags. Yeah, so I had the Jags at 5 last week. I dropped them to 9. They got embarrassed, right? The Jags, they got the dookie poo beat out of them by the 49ers this past week. Okay? And a lot of people are proclaiming the Jaguars as fraudulent. The only reason I'm not dropping them any lower than 9 is because the NFL is a weird place and weird things happen. And you know what? If the Jags come back and win these next couple of games, including beating Houston next week, people will move on from that 49ers game. Okay? It's a week-to-week league. So I'm going to keep the Jags in the top 10. I'm going to keep them at number 9. But I hope the Titans go beat that butt in Duval County. Pooval County. Poo-poo dookie Duval. What is happening on this podcast right now? What is happening? I've lost my mind. Number 8. Oh, yeah, I'm going to lose my mind even more here. The Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys were at number 8 last week. I'm keeping them at number 8 this week. Can I tell you... Let me get a sip of this drink real quick. I can't stand the Cowboys. Like many, I cannot stand the Cowboys. And here's why. They get such unfair treatment. Like, they're good. The Cowboys are good. I'm not an idiot. I know the Cowboys are a good team. But like the Cowboys, people are acting like the Cowboys just are Super Bowl bound because they beat the crap out of the Giants on Sunday. Skip Bayless is out here like, oh, the best team in the NFC right there. After what they did Sunday, oh, That's the best team in the NFC. It's like, dude, okay, yeah, they did what they were supposed to. They beat the crap out of the Giants. That's what they were supposed to do. The Cowboys should beat the Giants really bad. And they did. Good for them. But I am not going to take a victory lap for the Cowboys just because they beat up the Giants. In case you missed it just a little bit ago, I have the Giants on here as the worst team in the league. They're playing with some dude named Tommy, by God, DeVito. Okay, so I'm not going to just jump for joy because I don't think Dallas would beat Detroit right now. I don't think Dallas would beat San Francisco at all. I don't think Dallas would beat Philadelphia because they just played Philadelphia last week and lost to them. They lost to Philadelphia, and everybody was like, ooh, but they were the better team. They have the better roster. They may have lost, but everybody knows they're better. It's like, since when do we do that? Since when do we play those games? Oh, yeah, they lost, but they're still better. What? Give me a break, dude. If I hope the Cowboys never win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I would not be able to even turn on the TV. Number 7, the Browns. And this is a weird one because of the situation the Browns are in. Their starting quarterback's out. But I don't feel like their starting quarterback was that good anyway. Like, Deshaun Watson is better probably than the dude they're starting this Sunday. Did PJ Walker hurt or something? But like, the Browns had to play some games with PJ Walker, and they still won those games. Like, they have a great defense. That's kind of what carries them, whether Watson's in there or not. So if they can get one of these other quarterbacks to just come in and be competent, they could still win a lot of games. Now, I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl or nothing, but I think the Browns still, I mean, they just beat the Ravens, you know? So got to give them credit. Number 6, the 49ers. The 49ers going back up the list here. I mean, they had previously lost 3 games in a row. They came in there and made a statement against Jacksonville the other day. They were like, hey, don't you forget about us. They were like the Breakfast Club. Don't you forget about me. That's what they said on Sunday. They said, we're still here. They were like Brady that time in that Super Bowl celebration. We're still here. Okay, we're into the top 5. Number 5, the Dolphins. They were off this week, so really don't have anything new to say about them. Except, I will repeat the fact, they still ain't beat nobody over 500. So, just want to say, the Dolphins still have not beat anybody over 500. The Ravens got back on track with a good win last night. Tough loss to Cleveland, but I still feel like the Ravens are the biggest threat to the Chiefs right now. It is going to be tough. Mark Andrews, one of the better tight ends in the league, done for the year. That's going to be tough for them, though. But OBJ's looking more like OBJ. Lamar Jackson, I still think, playing at as high a level as he's played in the NFL in terms of throwing the ball. So the Ravens, I think, still belong in the top 5. Number 3, the Detroit Lions. Lions got a man. I love what Dan Campbell's doing in Detroit. You know, I love what he's doing, being aggressive, and I love it's good to see Detroit doing well, because usually it's like the Lions, the laughing stock of the league. But you know what? The Lions, it's good to see them winning. It's good to see them winning. The Lions are not, unless you are in Green Bay, Minnesota, or Chicago, the Lions are not hard to root for, you know, because they're just always so bad. They need something good to happen over there. Number 2, the Chiefs. Chiefs were off this week, but by default, I mean, you know, they're probably going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. And then number 1, the Eagles, who were also off, and Monday night's going to be a good one. Eagles versus Chiefs on Monday Night Football this week. That's going to be good. But for right now, I'm going to keep the Eagles up there at number 1. That is the 32-1 power rankings. And yes, B Ravens 1 says, you know, you have the Lions over the Ravens, despite the Ravens beating them up really bad. And you know, it's just tough because that was weeks ago, you know, and it's just so weird how things change. Because, like, if Detroit and Baltimore played again today, I'm not saying Detroit would win, okay? But I don't think they would get beat that bad again by Baltimore, you know? But maybe I'm wrong. Let's make some picks for this weekend, okay? If it'll pull up on my phone. I need to get a drink of this drink anyway. I'm still recovering from my cold. Come on now. Whew. And I will say this. Because the NFL is such a week-to-week league, and I say this all the time, because, guys, I live in the state of Alabama, okay? In Alabama, college football is supreme, okay? And, of course, we don't have a pro team in Alabama, okay? So you've got the Crimson Tide, you got the Auburn Tigers, you got, but mainly the Crimson Tide. Like, college football is everything around here. I am one of the only people, and it's because I grew up outside of Nashville, so that's where I get the whole Titans fandom from, and just my love of the NFL in general. But I'm one of the only people around here who prefers the NFL, and I get a lot of flack for it because I regularly say the NFL is better than college football to me. It's better. And people around here are like, what? Are you crazy? Here's why I say the NFL is better. Because in college football, and maybe it'll get better when they change it to a 12-team playoff. And I love college football. Don't take this as me not like, I love college football. I watch it every Saturday from sun up to sundown. But college football from the start of the season, I can tell you who's going to be around at the end. Like, it's going to be Alabama, it's going to be Georgia, it's going to be Ohio State and Michigan. And then make room for, a couple of, like, a Oklahoma or a Texas, maybe an Oregon. Like, it's the same handful of teams every time. Maybe you might get a TCU that sneaks in, but look what happened to them when they snuck into the playoffs. So, in the NFL, I mean, you don't know from one week to the next. Like, the Ravens played the Lions a few weeks ago and beat them to death. But you know what? If they play again tomorrow, you're going to tune in because it could be a much different result this time. Because it's so unpredictable and chaotic, and anybody can beat anybody at any given time. That's what makes the NFL better to me. Let's make some picks for this weekend. Steelers, Browns. I think Steelers are going to win. As unbelievable as it is, I think Steelers are going to win again. Browns without Watson. They got a rookie coming into play. I'm going to pick Steelers again. Cardinals, Texans. Man, I would love to see the Cardinals win this game, but I think the Texans are going to win. It's in Houston, and just even though having Kyler Murray back does make Arizona a better team, they're not as good as Houston right now. Raiders, Dolphins. Now, this would be a huge win for the Raiders, but I don't think they're going to get it. I'm going with the Dolphins. Coming off a bye, Dolphins get the win. Cowboys, Panthers. So the Cowboys are going to beat the Panthers really bad, and then people are going to be like, oh, did you see the Cowboys? Well, we them boys. They beat up the Panthers. Oh, my gosh, we could destroy the 49ers right now because look at what we did to the Panthers. That's what's going to happen. Bears, Lions. The Lions. I mean, it's in Detroit. I think the Lions will continue to build on what they've been doing. With the big win over the Chargers. I got the Lions over the Bears. Chargers, Packers. I'm going to pick the Chargers. The Chargers got to have this one. Chargers got to have this one to stay in the hunt there in the AFC wild card. They can beat the Packers. Giants, Commanders. Oh, my gosh. I'll go with the Commanders. I don't know if the Giants will win another game this year. I'm going with the Commanders. Bucks, Niners. Closer game than people might think, but I'm going with the 49ers. Jets, Bills. Must win for the Bills. Must win. You can't lose this one. In Buffalo against an inferior Jets team. You already lost to them once. I'm going with the Bills. Backs against the wall. Got to go with the Bills. Seahawks, Rams. The Seahawks. I think Seahawks have a better team all around. Vikings, Broncos in primetime Sunday Night Football. I mean, this is kind of the battle of the two teams who have salvaged their seasons. In Denver, I'm going to say Dobbs Mania runs wild no more. I'm going to say the Dobbs Mania runs out of steam here, and I'm going to pick the Broncos to beat the Vikings. And then Monday night, the big one. Eagles, Chiefs in Arrowhead. I'm going with the Eagles. I think that the Eagles have a better roster than the Chiefs. I think offensively the Chiefs have Mahomes and Kelsey, and that's enough. But the Eagles have so much. I was thinking of Browns because of A.J. Brown. They have A.J., they have Devontae Smith, they have Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Hurts. They just have a great offensive line, great defense. The Eagles obviously lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year. Give me the Eagles in this one in Arrowhead. I think they're going to be very motivated. I think they'll get the win. And that's my picks. Do want to let you know to be on the lookout again for when the next episode will be. We've got Thanksgiving stuff starting on Sunday. So I don't know. It might be another later episode on Monday, or it may even be Tuesday before I'm back on, but hopefully it'll be later Monday. Just be looking out on Twitter at @twotone_podcast, and be looking on the community page on here. I'll keep you updated on what the schedule will be. But it's Thanksgiving week next week, and that'll be, hopefully we can be thankful for the Titans beating the Jaguars. I guess I should make a pick in that game too. My gut feeling as to what's going to happen in Duval County Sunday, my gut feeling is that the Jaguars are going to take the Titans out behind the woodshed like Old Yeller, and they're going to put Old Yeller down for this year. I mean, I just don't think the Titans are going to be able to go in there and make it, get a miraculous win. I'm not going to say it's impossible. Of course it's not impossible, but I just think the Jaguars are going to beat them bad and put them out of their misery. But I hope I'm wrong. Thank you guys for joining me on the Two Tone Talk podcast. This is the Two Tone Talk podcast, where we're staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Everybody enjoy the game on Sunday, and I will see you either later in the day, Monday, or Tuesday. But be on the lookout. I'll let you know one way or the other. Thank you, guys. Tighten up. Bye, everybody.
Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please everybody, that ain't no way to be. So many people try to get you